In this video, I'm going to talk about how to calculate the variance and the standard deviation of a data set. Here, two questions are displayed on the screen simultaneously. The first thing you want to do is to calculate the mean. But before that, let's talk about population and sample. Population refers to all data. Sample refers to some or parts of the data. Let's say you enter a class of 10 students and ask all 10 students their age. Since you included all the students in the class, if you calculate the mean, it's called the population mean. If you calculate the variance, it's called the population variance. Similarly, the standard deviation will be population standard deviation. Now imagine a larger class of 60 students. Since it's a big class, you select 5 students to represent the others. In this case, you are treating the data as a sample because it's only part of the population. If you calculate the mean of the 5 students, it's called the sample mean. The variance will be the sample variance, and the standard deviation will be the sample standard deviation. Now let's go back to the question. The question number 1 is the ages of all students in a class are 18, 19, 20, 22, 21. Calculate the standard deviation. Calculate the variance. Now, are we supposed to treat the question as a population or as a sample? It includes all the students. So, in that case, it is going to be treated as a population. So, we already know that for this question, we are going to calculate the population mean. But before calculating, let's quickly compare the population mean formula to sample mean formula. Symbol mu represents the population mean, and the symbol which we are very familiar with, x bar, represents sample mean. Now, the formula for population mean is the summation of x divided by n. And the formula for sample mean is also summation of x divided by n. Now we can go ahead and solve question 1. So, first we are going to find the mean, which is the summation of x divided by n. Now, the summation of x will be 18 plus 19 plus 20 plus 22 plus 21. Our n is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 data values in the data set. So our n is 5. Now when you add everything together, you will have 100 divided by 5. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So the population mean is 20. Now let's save the value down here for later. Now the first question is to calculate the standard deviation. So we are going to calculate the population standard deviation. But before we solve, let's compare the formula to sample standard deviation. So the symbol called lowercase sigma is used to represent population standard deviation, and S is the symbol used to represent sample standard deviation. So the formula for population standard deviation is square root of summation of x minus population mean square divided by n. And the formula for sample standard deviation is the square root of summation of x minus the sample mean square divided by n minus 1. Now the main difference between the two formula is the denominator. The denominator of this, we call it Bessel's correction. Now using this formula, square root of the summation of x minus mu divided by n. So it's gonna be equal to the square root of our first x is 18. So 18 minus our mean is 20. 20 square it plus 19 minus 20. The third data is 20. 20 minus 20. Don't forget to square. 22 minus 20. 21 minus 20 divided by n. Recall that our n is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to have the square root of 18 minus 20 minus 2 plus 19 minus 20 minus 1 plus 20 minus 20, 0, plus 22 minus 20, 2, plus 21 minus 20, 1. Do not forget to square. Divided by 5. So that is going to be equal to the square root of negative 2 square is 4, plus negative 1 square is 1, plus 0 square is 0, plus 2 square is 4, plus 1 square is 1, then divided by 5. So we're gonna have square root of 4 plus 1 plus 0 plus 4 and plus 1 is 10 divided by 5. Now we're gonna have the square root of 10 divided by 5, 2. So the population standard deviation is equal to the square root of 2, or take the square root and have 1.4. So this is how you can find the population standard deviation. Now let's save our answer for later. To calculate the population variance is the summation of x minus population mean square divided by n. Now observe the population standard deviation formula and the population variance formula. Tell me, what do you notice? Notice that the whole of the population variance formula is what we have here in the square root. That is, the population standard deviation is the square root of the population variance. To make the population variance the subject of the formula, square both sides. Square this and this. So when you square sigma, you have sigma squared equal to this square cancel this square root, remaining population variance. So we already know the sigma is a symbol that represents population standard deviation. Now the square of the sigma represents population variance. So when you're calculating for standard deviation and you already have the variance, just take the square root of the variance to get your standard deviation. Also, when you're calculating for variance and you already have your standard deviation, just take the square of your standard deviation to get your variance. Let's calculate for the variance of the data set. Since we already have our standard deviation, which correlates to this, and since our variance is standard deviation squared, we are going to be having the square root of 2, which is the value we got for the standard deviation, and square it to get our variance. So square cancels square roots. We are going to have 2 to be our variance. Therefore, our variance, which is sigma square, is equal to 2. Now let's keep this for later too. So let's solve question number 2. It says the ages of 5 students selected from a class are 18, 19, 20, 22, and 21. So calculate the variance, calculate the standard deviation. So how are we going to treat this data? Is it as a population or as a sample? This question is very similar to question number 1. In fact, the only difference is in question number 1, it says all students. And in this question, it says 5 students were selected. So we treated the first question as a population because it includes the entire student. But in this question, it says 5 students were selected. That is, there must have been more than 5 students. So only 5 were chosen as a sample to represent others. So in this case, the data in this question is going to be treated as a sample. So to calculate the variance, we are going to need the mean. Basically, the mean x bar is equal to the summation of x divided by n. I believe we are all very familiar with this formula. The first x here is 18, so we're gonna have 18. The next data is 19. The next is 20 plus next is 22. And the last data we have here is 21 divided by n. So our n is, let's count the numbers involved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 numbers involved. So our n is 5. 18 plus 19 plus 20 plus 22 and plus 21 will give you 100 divided by 5. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So our sample mean is 20. Now notice that our sample mean has the same value as our population mean. So therefore the mean of the sample x bar is equal to 20. Let's save it here. So to calculate the variance of the sample, s square is equal to the summation of x minus the sample mean square divided by n minus 1. Now recall, for population variance, the denominator is n, but for sample variance, the denominator is n minus 1. So our variance is gonna be, the first data here is 18. So 18 minus the sample mean is 20 square plus the next data is 19 minus the mean, which is 20, plus the next is 20 minus the mean, which is also 20. Do not forget to square. Plus 22 minus the mean, which is 20 square, plus 21 minus 20 square. Our n, that is the number of the data values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 5. So 5 minus 1. Now 18 minus 20 is negative 2 square, plus 19 minus 20 is negative 1 square, plus 20 minus 20 is 0 square, plus 22 minus 20 is 2 square, plus 21 minus 20 is 1 square, divided by 5 minus 1, which is 4. So negative 2 square is 4, plus negative 1 square is 1, plus negative 0 square is 0, plus 2 square 4, plus 1 square 1, divided by 4. Now 4 plus 1 plus 0 plus 4 plus 1 is 10 divided by 4. So 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. So notice that the value of the sample variance is a bit close to the value of population variance. So this is how we can calculate for sample variance. So let's save our answer for later. So to calculate for the standard deviation of the sample, so S is equal to the square root of the summation of x minus sample mean square divided by n minus 1. So the standard deviation S is equal to the square root of S squared, that is the variance. Now note that this variance correlates with this value. So the standard deviation is the square root of 2.5. So S is equal to the square root of 2.5 is 1.58. Therefore, our standard deviation here is 1.58. So the value is also close to what we got in the population standard deviation. In the population standard deviation, we got 1.4. But here in the sample standard deviation, we got 1.58. So this is how we can find the standard deviation of a sample. Try this question. Calculate the variance and standard deviation of this dataset. In this question, no instruction is given on whether to treat the data as a population or as a sample. That makes the question slightly ambiguous. In many high school mathematics textbooks, such data is often treated as a population for simplicity. However, in real-life statistics, it is rare to have access to an entire population. Most data sets represent samples. Therefore, when a question does not clearly specify, it is generally safer to treat the data as a sample. So you go ahead and calculate the sample variance and the sample standard deviation. And if this video is helpful, please like and subscribe for more. To share your answers and thoughts in the comments.